Welcome to Saving Castles, the podcast for castle and chateau enthusiasts. Join us as we explore the fascinating history, stories, and culture of these awe-inspiring structures, from the legends and folklore to the latest in restoration. We'll cover it all, so whether you're a seasoned castle aficionado or just discovering the magic of these magnificent buildings, this is the podcast for you. So grab your headphones and let's dive in.
Greetings, castle connoisseurs. Welcome to yet another captivating episode of the Saving Castles podcast. As your dedicated host, I'm thrilled to navigate you through the labyrinth of time into the heart of English history and down into the mysterious depths of the past. The title of today's episode, Knight's Dungeons, Exploring the Dark Underbellies of English Castles, gives you a tantalizing glimpse into our journey. We're heading beneath the imposing towers, the opulent great halls, the royal chambers, and the fortified walls of medieval fortresses to uncover their hidden, often overlooked dungeons. When we picture a castle, we often envision the grandeur, the lofty turrets reaching for the skies, the ornate stonework, the royal banquets within great halls. Yet the castle, a symbol of royal authority, a bastion of military strength, also had a darker side. Beneath the lavish living quarters, the bustling courtyards and the strategic battlements, lay the dungeons. These underground chambers, the forgotten recesses, were the castle's dark underbelly. It's where prisoners were confined and unspeakable horrors unfolded. In the medieval world, a castle was not merely a residence or a defensive structure. It was a statement of power, a testament to the might of the king or the lord who held its keys. The dungeon, with its chilling atmosphere and its reputation for despair, was part of that statement. Here, in the dank, shadowy depths, power was enforced with an iron hand, and the price of defiance was brutally exacted. Today we delve into these dungeons. We explore their history, their architecture, their stories. We traverse the narrow corridors, feel the chill of the stone walls, and hear the echoes of the past. As we journey from the infamous Tower of London to the chilling dungeons of Chillingham Castle, we will unravel the secrets that these dungeons hold, the tales they tell, and the lessons they teach us. So, dear listeners, join me on this fascinating journey into the dark underbellies of English castles. Let's turn the key, open the heavy door, and step into the past. Our first descent into the shadows brings us to the banks of the River Thames, to the formidable Tower of London. An integral part of British history, the Tower of London was initially erected by William the Conqueror in 1078. It was intended as a symbol of his supremacy, a declaration of his power over the newly conquered land. With its imposing white stone towers, its strategic location on the riverbank, and its formidable defences, the tower was a statement of Norman power and a stark reminder of their dominance. However, the tower's most notorious feature was its dungeon. Nestled beneath the White Tower, the oldest part of the complex, the dungeon was a place of despair and dread. Imagine, if you will, the suffocating darkness, the damp chill that clings to the stone walls, the eerie silence broken only by the distant drip of water or the scurrying of rats. Here, in the bowels of the tower, the light of hope was a distant memory, and the spectre of death was a constant companion. Over the centuries, the tower's dungeon has played reluctant host to a grim procession of prisoners. Notable among them was Sir Walter Raleigh, the famed explorer, and once the favourite of Queen Elizabeth I. Accused of treason, Raleigh was incarcerated within these bleak walls for 13 years, a sobering reminder of the fickleness of royal favour. Perhaps the most tragic tale associated with the tower is that of Anne Boleyn. As the second wife of King Henry VIII, she was a queen who fell from grace, accused of high treason. After a brief but dramatic trial, Anne was imprisoned within the tower's cold stone walls. She was later executed on the Tower Green, her tragic end forever etching her story into the Tower's blood-soaked history. These stories and countless others weave a rich, albeit sombre, tapestry that illustrates the brutal reality of life and death in the Tower of London. From London, our journey leads us to the county of Warwickshire, to the looming battlements of Warwick Castle. Founded by William the Conqueror in 1068, this fortress has withstood the ravages of time and conflict, its stalwart towers bearing silent testimony to the turbulent history of the region. Yet our interest today lies not in the castle's towering turrets or its imposing stone walls, but beneath them in the castle's dungeon. Carved into the solid rock beneath the castle's moat, Warwick's dungeon is a chilling testament to human endurance and despair. Picture the labourers tasked with creating this subterranean prison, their hammers and picks chipping away at the unyielding stone, the reverberating echoes of their toil, a grim prelude to the dungeon's future. This was a place of pure dread, where the only company for the unfortunate prisoners was the relentless darkness and the constant creeping presence of fear. The entrance to Warwick's dungeon was deceptively modest, a narrow door carved into the rock. Yet this door was more than a physical barrier. It was a psychological one. It walked the line between light and darkness, between freedom and captivity. Once it swung shut, the door sealed in more than just the prisoners. It enclosed their humanity, their hopes, their whispered prayers for mercy or deliverance. It marked the end of their world, as they knew it, and the beginning of a bleak existence defined by despair. Our exploration brings us next to the pastoral tranquillity of Northumberland, where the picturesque Chillingham Castle nestles amidst verdant fields and quiet woodlands. This 12th century fortress, with its idyllic setting and charming facade, belies the gruesome secret hidden within its depths. Known as the torture chamber, Chillingham's dungeon is arguably one of the most disturbing in all of England. The contrast between the castle's tranquil surroundings and the grim reality of its dungeon is startling. The stone walls of the torture chamber, stained and darkened by the passage of time, bear mute testimony to the atrocities they have witnessed. The chamber is still home to its original 12th century torture devices, a macabre collection that includes the stretching rack and the scavenger's daughter, a cruel device designed to crush the victim's body. But it's not just the physical evidence of torture that lends Chillingham's dungeon its chilling atmosphere. The castle is steeped in tales of paranormal activity, with numerous accounts of unexplained phenomena and spectral sighting. Perhaps the most famous is the ghost of the Blue Boy, said to haunt the castle's pink room. These tales, whether real or imagined, add an extra layer of intrigue and horror to the castle's already chilling dungeon. As we traverse these dungeon corridors and immerse ourselves in their haunting tales, we gain a deeper understanding of the stark realities of medieval justice and the true nature of power in the feudal world. Our journey through the dark underbellies of English castles now takes us to the historical county of Lancashire, where the formidable Lancaster Castle stands. With its foundations dating back to the Roman era, Lancaster Castle's long history is steeped in intrigue and power struggles, all of which echo from within its stone-clad walls. However, the castle's most chilling feature is perhaps its infamous dungeon tucked away within the foreboding Well Tower. The Well Tower, so named for the water well it houses, is a deceptive structure. Its simple, unadorned exterior belies the horrors that were once enacted within its confines. The dungeon in this tower is a chilling testament to human cruelty and resilience. Prisoners held here were subjected to unimaginable conditions. The air, heavy with damp and despair, was punctuated by the constant dripping of water from the well, a cruel irony for those dying of thirst within their cold stone cells. Each stone within the dungeon tells a story of hope and despair, of humans caught in the unforgiving grip of medieval justice. Imagine, if you will, the prisoners' etchings on the dungeon walls. Names, dates, messages, pleas for mercy or divine intervention, all painstakingly carved into the unyielding stone. These echoes from the past offer us a window into the lives, fears, and hopes of those who found themselves at the mercy of Lancaster Castle's dungeon. Next, our journey leads us to the idyllic East Sussex countryside, where the stunning Bodiam Castle reflects majestically off the mirror like surface of its surrounding moat. Constructed in 1385, this perfect example of a late medieval moated castle is famed for its fairy tale-like beauty, its symmetry, and its well-preserved defensive structure. However, hidden within its postern tower lies a dark secret, a dungeon that offers a stark contrast to the castle's exterior beauty. The postern tower, a secondary gatehouse in the castle's design, served as a sally port for the castle's defenders. Yet, within this defensive structure, a dungeon was carved into the bedrock. The contrast between the tower's function and the dungeon's purpose is a stark reminder of the duality of castle life. On one hand, it was a hub of chivalry and defence. On the other, a centre of punishment and despair. The Bodiam dungeon, small and oppressive, was designed to break the spirit. The lack of light, the claustrophobic space, and the incessant damp would have made any stay a punishment in itself. The dungeon's entrance, a narrow, low doorway, served as a psychological weapon, forcing the prisoner to bow upon entry, an act of enforced submission. This dungeon, like others of its kind, was not just a place of physical confinement. It was a tool of psychological warfare, a place designed to instill fear and ensure obedience. As we continue to delve into the dungeons of England's castles, we are reminded that these fortresses were not just homes and defensive structures. They were also tools of control, centres of justice, and, in many cases, places of despair. Our exploration of the dark underbellies of English castles now brings us to the borderlands of England and Scotland, where the imposing Carlisle Castle stands. This formidable fortress, established by William II in the late 11th century, has been a crucial player in many a border conflict, changing hands between the English and the Scots multiple times. Yet within its dungeon tower lies a chilling tale of imprisonment and despair. The dungeon tower, a central keep, hides within its depths a grim dungeon. The dungeon's entrance, a small, nondescript trapdoor in the tower's floor, reveals little of the grim conditions below. Descending into the dungeon, one is immediately struck by the oppressive darkness, the musty scent of damp stone, and the chilling silence broken only by the distant drip of water seeping through the ancient masonry. Adding to the dungeon's eerie atmosphere are the countless etchings left behind by its unfortunate occupants. Among the most poignant is an intricate carving of the Virgin Mary and baby Jesus, thought to be the handiwork of a prisoner held captive during the Scottish Wars of Independence. This piece of medieval graffiti, as some historians refer to it, provides a deeply human connection to the individuals who endured the harsh conditions of the dungeon. We journey next to the tranquil Suffolk countryside, where the magnificent Framlingham Castle graces the landscape. Constructed in the 12th century, Framlingham Castle is renowned for its impressive curtain wall and 13 towers. Yet, hidden within its complex, in a building known as the Workhouse, lies a part of the castle's history often overshadowed by its military significance. Its use as a poorhouse and a prison. The Workhouse, a substantial 3-story building within the castle walls, was used as a poorhouse from the late 17th to the early 18th century. The poorhouse system was an early form of social security, providing basic needs for the poor. However, life within these institutions was far from comfortable. Discipline was harsh. Privacy was non-existent, and living conditions were minimalistic at best. The workhouse at Framingham Castle later transitioned into a prison, with its cellar serving as the dungeon. The oppressive atmosphere of the cellar, with its low ceilings and minimal light, is a stark reminder of the harsh realities of prison life. This transition from poorhouse to prison underlines the thin line between poverty and criminality in historical societies, a theme echoed in the dungeons of many English castles. Our journey through the dark underbellies of English castles leads us next to the heart of Nottingham, where the historic Nottingham Castle perches on a natural promontory known as Castle Rock. Although the current castle is largely a 17th-century ducal mansion, the site's history dates back to the Norman conquest, with its most notable feature being the labyrinthine network of caves and tunnels carved into the rock, including the notorious Mortimer's Hole. Mortimer's Hole is a tunnel running from the base of Castle Rock up to the castle grounds. It was named after Sir Roger Mortimer, lover of Queen Isabella, who was seized in this very tunnel by the forces of her son, King Edward III, in a dramatic coup in 1330. Mortimer was imprisoned in the castle's dungeon and later executed. The tale of Mortimer's capture illustrates the strategic importance of these underground structures in medieval castle design. They served as secret entrances, escape routes, storage spaces, and, in some cases, as dungeons. The very design of Mortimer's Hole, narrow and winding, would have been disorienting and intimidating, creating a psychological impact on those marched through it. The darkness, the echoing footfalls, the chill permeating from the rock all would have contributed to an atmosphere of fear and foreboding, a potent tool in the hands of those wielding power. Journeying southeast, we arrive at Dover Castle, a commanding presence overlooking the shortest sea crossing between England and continental Europe. As we delve into the depths of this castle's underbelly, we step into a recent chapter of history, far removed from the medieval periods of our previous explorations. The secret wartime tunnels of Dover Castle, carved into the chalky bedrock beneath the fortification, are a testament to England's resilience during the World War II era. Originally hewn during the Napoleonic Wars, this subterranean network was brought back to life in the 20th century, serving as a crucial command centre and makeshift hospital during the dark days of the Second World War. Venturing through these tunnels, one can almost hear the faded echoes of hurried footsteps and urgent whispers. The remnants of the control room, with its maps and communication apparatus, are a stark reminder of the relentless pressure and high stakes faced by those working within these confined spaces. The oppressive atmosphere of the tunnel's hospital, with its rows of vacant beds and utilitarian medical equipment, paints a grim picture of the human cost of war. Even within the harsh confines of these tunnels, there were glimmers of humanity. Graffiti etched into the chalk walls by soldiers and medical staff bear witness to their presence and their emotions. These drawings and inscriptions, etched in moments of fear, boredom, or hope, form a poignant connection between the past and the present, giving us a glimpse into the hearts and minds of those who once inhabited these tunnels. Our odyssey through England's castle dungeons now takes us to Northumberland, home to the magnificent Alnwick Castle. With its formidable stone walls and stately architecture, this castle has served as the seat of the Duke of Northumberland for over 700 years. Within Alnwick Castle's postern tower, a chilling dungeon offers a stark contrast to the grandeur of the castle's living quarters. This dungeon, with its stone-vaulted ceiling and slim window slits, was designed to instill a sense of despair and subjugation in its occupants. Descending the steep, narrow staircase into the dungeon, one can feel the temperature drop and the light dim. The space is small and claustrophobic, a far cry from the castle's grand halls and well-appointed chambers. The heavy door, with its iron hinges and robust lock, would have closed with an ominous finality, leaving its occupants in near total darkness. The isolation of this dungeon, coupled with the bone-chilling cold and the constant damp, would have been enough to break the spirit of even the most resilient prisoners. Yet, within this harsh environment, there are signs of human resilience. Faint etchings on the walls, made by prisoners of long ago, tell a tale of hope and defiance in the face of despair. It's impossible to ignore the profound impact these castle dungeons have had on our understanding of England's history. These dark underbellies, hidden beneath the grandeur of stone keeps and fortified walls, have revealed a side of life that often goes unmentioned in the annals of history. Despite their grim reputation, these dungeons are more than mere places of despair and suffering. They are palimpsests of the past, bearing the marks of those who were once confined within their walls. Whether it's the crude graffiti etched into the stone by a medieval prisoner, or the hastily scrawled names of Second World War soldiers in the Dover Castle tunnels, these inscriptions are poignant reminders of the human capacity to endure, even in the harshest conditions. In our explorations, we've also observed how the function of these subterranean spaces evolved over time, reflecting broader changes in society. From their origins as storehouses and strongholds in the Norman period, to their use as prisons during times of conflict, and their reinvention as places of refuge and command during the World Wars, these spaces offer a unique lens through which to view the shifting tides of English history. We ventured into the depths of the Tower of London, experienced the grim reality of Carlisle Castle's dungeon tower, explored the transition from poorhouse to prison at Framlingham Castle, and retraced the steps of Sir Roger Mortimer through Nottingham Castle's Mortimer's Hole. We felt the chilling echo of war in the secret wartime tunnels of Dover Castle, and gazed upon the stark confines of Alnwick Castle's dungeon in the postern tower. As castle enthusiasts, our fascination often lies with the grand halls, the soaring towers, and the mighty fortifications that have withstood the test of time. But, as we've discovered, the true heart of a castle often lies beneath the surface, in the dark, hidden corners that echo with the whispers of the past. Through this journey, we not only discovered the captivating histories of these English castles, but also connected with the human stories they hold. Stories of courage and despair, of defiance and resilience, of power and subjugation. Stories that remind us that these are not just structures of stone and mortar, but vessels of human history, bearing the imprints of the countless lives that have intersected with their walls. In the end, our exploration of the dark underbellies of English castles has revealed that these dungeons are far more than mere historical curiosities. They are integral parts of the castle's narratives, offering profound insights into the human experiences of the past. They are reminders of our history, whispers from the past that continue to echo in the present, inviting us to listen, to learn, and to remember. In the words of historian Michael Wood, history is not just about the past. It's about understanding who we are and how we got here. In exploring these castle dungeons, we've done just that, unraveling the threads of history to better understand our collective journey. As we step back into the light, we carry these stories with us, enriched by the knowledge and insight gained from our journey into the dark underbellies of English castles. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey through the dungeons of English castles. Until our next adventure, keep exploring and keep discovering. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Saving Castles podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll continue to explore the fascinating world of castles and chateaux. Don't miss out and subscribe to our podcast to get notified when new episodes are released. For more information about us and our work, visit savingcastles.com. Thank you for listening.